what have you found the reasons to be that leaders just can't let go? They can't learn to delegate.
Well, I mean, it is tied to the whole thing of getting the right people on the team. That whole thing we do on hiring and firing, and we talk about that a lot. That's also a major pain point like delegation is. These are tied directly together because if you got the right people on the team, it makes the process easier. But most people that hesitate to delegate aren't control freaks. They simply want the job done right, and they're not sure the person in front of them is going to do the job right. So not delegating in that situation would be called wisdom, right? You know, you don't want to hand the keys to a car, a $50,000 car, to a 14-year-old who's never driven. I'm not delegating that. That's wisdom. That's not, well, you're a micromanager, Dad. No, I'm not going to let you tear up my dadgum car. I've worked hard to build this business, and you're not going to screw it up with your, by your ineptness, your incompetence in these areas. So it is wisdom in a lot of cases, but we kind of accuse ourselves in our own minds. Sometimes external forces accuse us of being micromanagers. If that's the situation, you're not really a micromanager. You're wise. And you need to be training people to where they are competent to carry it so you can turn it over to them.
Yeah, what I love about that is it holds the mirror up to the leader going, oh, I haven't done a good enough job showing this person how to do this. We just assume in our minds, well, we hired them. We're giving them a paycheck, Dave. They should just know how to do it like the exact way I want.
Yeah, not only do they not know how to do the particular thing, which they may have been trained to do the thing, but do it the way you want it done inside your brand, inside your business. It's got your thumbprint, your fingerprints all over it, and people aren't going to look to the guy that messed it up. They're going to look to you. You own it. You run it. It's got your face, your name on the thing. And so, I mean, your heat and air guy, your technician tears up somebody's house, they're not going to point their finger at that guy. They're going to point your finger back at the guy that owns the thing and says, you let a doober in my house. And so you got to go through that. So when I first started delegating, I did it for the wrong reasons. I did it because it was work. I just was frustrated. I was overwhelmed. I couldn't get to it. And so them doing anything was better than me doing nothing because I was overwhelmed. And that was really a bad basis for delegation. Another reason I delegated was, and this is actually a good reason, was it's something I didn't know how to do. I have never written a line of code yet. And I've got almost 500 people on our team here in technology that write all kinds of lines of codes. And it's like a big joke that I own this technology company and I can't spell technology. But but those are people that know how to do something I don't know how to do. They're a specialist. In a sense, as if you hire someone to do your taxes. That doesn't work on your team necessarily, but same thing. You're delegating the tax work because you don't know how to do the taxes, and that's a smart thing to do. That's different than the frustration thing.
It's saving you a lot of time and energy. And all this delegation, it reminds me of marriage in the sense that we assume the other person is just going to be a mind reader and know exactly what we're needing, how we want it done, do it perfectly, and that causes a lot of tension. And so we've got to get good at this habit. But what needs to be true for someone to get good at this? Because you mentioned your kind of turning point where you started to get good at it. What was true in your life at the time where you went, oh, this is working, and I actually enjoy delegating now?
Well, the first thing I did is I started realizing there was a nobility to delegation, as my friend Gerber says in the book E-Myth, to work on your business, not just in your business. The business was never going to grow. It was never going to get any bigger because I was controlling everything, because A, I didn't have the right team in place that had the right skills, and B, I'd never trained anyone to be able to be comfortable to hand off to them. And so there's a nobility that says, A, I don't know how to do everything. That's a humility of a nobility of humility. And then there's this thing of, I want to do something bigger than I can do by myself. And so I've got to learn this skill. Once I dove into that, I finally poked around and I discovered what became the thesis of the original EntreLeadership lesson on delegation, still is the thesis on that lesson, and the thesis of this little quick read. And that is, here's the secret to delegation, right here. Ready? 1, 2, 3. If you can trust someone's competency and you can trust their integrity, you can delegate to them. Are they going to tell the truth? Are they going to do the right thing? Are they going to take care of the customer? And do they know how to write a line of code? Do they know how to fix the heat and air? Do they know how to do the thing? And are they going to do it in a way that they act like they care and they act like they're one of the owners of the business and emotionally? And then you're ready to delegate to them. And I figured out about myself, I'm really not a control freak. I just am very protective of the name Ramsey and what it means. And so I don't want to turn something over to someone who's going to screw it up. So, but as soon as I can find they're not going to screw it up because they're competent and they have integrity, I love not doing all the work. It's a lot more fun. I can get a lot more done. I can be a little lazier. I can be places where I'm not. I delegate the crud out of everything around here once I find people that I can delegate to due to their competency and their integrity. Now, how do you know that that's the case? Well, you've trained them, you've spent time with them, you've mentored them, you've listened to them use very similar phrases that you would want them to use because the same thing would have come out of your mouth. Can you finish my sentences is one of the sayings we say around here all the time. And if they can do that, if they're going to do it the way you want it done from an integrity perspective and a competency perspective, it's a joyous affair to delegate to that person. But that involves the quality of the person. You can't put a doofus in the seat and never train them, okay? No donkey's going to become a thoroughbred no matter how hard you train them, all right? So we put the right person in the seat, and then we're going to pour into that person and spend time with them, not just assume because they've got a certain degree or a certain certification or there's something on their resume that they can just walk in day one and delegate. That's where corporate America screws up, is they delegate to supposed knowledge instead of proven competencies.
That's big. So that coaching piece is really important. Does that happen in one-on-ones? Is that more, you delegate to a different leader as you scale? What does the coaching process look like? Because obviously, like you said, this happens over time. It is not day one. We just have this instant trust of their competency and integrity.
Well, it starts day one. I mean, your onboarding process. When you have someone come in the old days, we'd say, there's a desk and a phone and a computer, start making calls, and we'd walk away. And that was your whole onboarding process. They couldn't even find the bathroom. They didn't know what to do. And so their effectiveness early in their career was very low and very frustrating for them, for the customer. And then we would go, well, they're not doing the job right. Well, you never showed them how to do the stinking job. So onboarding and saying, I know you know how to do right code. I know you know how to fix heat and air. I know you know how to ... But the way we do it here is this. And this, and this, and this, and spend some very intense time in the first 3 or 4 weeks while they're in their honeymoon phase when they came to work for you, and really, really pour into them. And then it's checkups with one-on-ones, and then it's course corrections when there's a stumble, and then it's regular check-ins and meetings, and you're checking metrics and going, wait a minute, this thing seems to be off track. You look at the math and you dig into the situation and go, oh, the reason the math is showing that is stinking things off track. We're not on course. And we go, okay, why is that? And so, but then you start, that's delegating the basic tasks. Then delegating leadership takes a little longer because you're delegating a concept then. And they've really got to get inside your spirit, inside your philosophy of life to be able to delegate leadership to someone so that they can lead others the way you want them led. That's more complicated, but much more. Man, you talk about a force multiplier. When you can start to lead leaders well, and you could trust their competency as a leader, their integrity, boom, this thing explodes.
That changes everything. And it also goes back to the mission, vision, and values, making sure those are clear, they're communicated early and often, and you've rallied the team around that, rallied your leaders around that, so we're all on the same page.
Yeah, that's the cultural piece of, you know how to do what you do, but we do it this way here. And that's what mission is. That's what values are. That's what our internal culture is. And so, the way we say it is we always say it this way. And it's almost like a scripted training, if you will. But it's not really. It's ingraining the culture. It's not reading a script rote or just like, boring and, monotone. But it's drilling into my head, this is the way this place breathes. This is the rhythm. This is where the tide goes out, the tide comes in. This is how I can feel what I'm riding here. And then the person has a lot of confidence to go with their competence and their integrity. But new people that come in solely on their resume or on their past successes at another place, their confidence is unfounded until proven in the location that you're running.
Yeah, that's so good. So what's the first step a leader should take? They're listening, they're going, Dave, I love the idea of everything you're saying is great. What do I do this week to get better at delegation?
First thing I had to do was I looked up and I had hired some donkeys. And the reason I couldn't delegate is they weren't going to win the Kentucky Derby no matter how much I poured into them. And so I had to do an assessment and go, I screwed up. I can't delegate to that guy or that gal ever until they become a whole different person. I ain't got time for that. So I'm going to have to put someone else in that seat if I'm going to delegate that particular job. Otherwise, I've got to watch Donkey Boy and make sure he does every stinking thing right, which drives me nuts, okay? And so that began a process of getting the right people, the old Jim Collins thing, get the right people on the bus, the wrong people off the bus, and the right people on the right seats on the bus. And in some cases, we've all talked about this in the hiring and firing portion, a donkey is actually a thoroughbred in the wrong seat. And when you move them into the right seat, boom, they light up. They're functioning in their skills, their natural personality attributes, and it's like you just thought they could do something they couldn't do, and they can do this other thing a whole lot better. And now you got somebody you can delegate to because they've got the right stuff, and they're even going to add to it things you couldn't add to it with their skills. So getting people in the right seat's a big deal, or set them free in Jesus' name.